Hello and welcome to a very special segment. In an exclusive, of course, Teamlease Degree Apprenticeship's latest report highlights are being shared with NDTV first. Now, this report is about the projected apprenticeship trends at large that are emerging. Remember, of course, increasingly the focus is on skilled workforce and prioritizing skilled workforce. Just a month ago, Teamlease had, of course, highlighted how India's record growth really in apprenticeship is emerging. But now they're, of course, in this latest report, highlighting the trends that are emerging, the roles that are most sought after, the job roles that are most sought after, and of course, how this is impacting in building a skilled workforce for India. Now, to decode this further, I'm joined by Sumit Kumar, Chief Strategy Officer at Teamlease Degree Apprenticeship. Thank you for your time. First, please take our viewers through the highlights of the study, how this study was conducted, and how have we emerged with these highlights suggesting that, look, AI and tech roles are most sought after?
Yeah. Now, it's been a very interesting, study which we have been doing very regularly now. This was basically now the seventh year in continuation when we have been, released this report. And the figures are very, very, I would say impressive, because they say that this time the projection is that organizations will have about 76% NAO, which is the net outlook of apprenticeship, which basically talks about the number of organizations which intend to increase their apprenticeship minus the organization which want to decrease their apprenticeship. So you come up with a net figure. And this is a survey which is done with the leading employers across the country in different sectors, so that we get to know a very, a realistic view that what kind of apprenticeship outlook looks like for the coming time. And this study was basically done for the period of January to March for this year. Now, we have seen the trend that apprenticeship has been on the rise, at least for last 3-4 years continuously, because today there is a recognition that yes, apprenticeship works both for the employers and from a demand side of it, and even from the youth who have little been apprehensive about apprenticeship because they thought that it's more of a vocational kind of a thing, not meant for us. And so you realize that purely that the graduates have stayed away. But interestingly, the reality is that today apprenticeships are available in every sector. And even if I were to talk about from a white collar jobs, whether it is to do with retail, healthcare, IT, education, I think across streams, if you were to look at today, apprenticeships are, very well receptive. So there is a demand for it. And there is definitely now that recognition is there even with the youth, where they are ready and willing to take up apprenticeship. Also, the reason is the stipends which are being paid, is kind of a very, motivation for them. But at the same time, they gain that experience, which is missing, when they're going through their education. So the fact is that they tend to gain experience, which makes them more employable, and yet they are paid. So some of the trends, what we see today in our report that came out was that IT, healthcare, and electronics happen to be the booming sector, which has the highest projection for intake of the apprentices. What we're also witnessing is that job roles which are influenced by technology, and specifically we're talking about artificial intelligence, because every organization today is now trying to adopt AI to become more productive and efficient. So the job roles which are to do with backed by the AI kind of a thing, or which have an AI role to play, is where there is a high stipends also, which can vary anything between 20 to 50,000 kind of a thing. So that's something which is very encouraging for youth who's just graduated and possibly is not getting the right exposure or getting a right career break. Can apprenticeship be the route for them or a platform for them to get into the mainstream careers? Another very interesting trend what we saw was that the organization, that 44% of the organization said that they are willing to increase the intake of women apprentices. Now, the case is that today there is obviously a diversity agenda which the organizations are driving, but at the same time, organizations are looking for skilled. So skilled today are gender agnostics, and that's the reason why the intake for women apprentices has gone up.
Right, very, very interesting to note here, like you said, about, of course, the gender roles as well. But, going forward, for all those looking at, of course, AI and tech roles in particular, right? You mentioned how every sector is looking at AI and tech roles today. But for those targeting specific job titles, really, what would be your message to them? How can they skill themselves faster for an evolving landscape, as it were?
I think the very important fact is that you have to be employable, and that's a major concern, with the youth and especially the graduates that are passing out from the colleges. I think the economic survey suggested that today, from 50 to 54% today, our graduates are employable. But even to, people who are even, let's say, cannot pursue their higher education and want to get into mainstream education after 12th, can also take up apprenticeship as an opportunity to get into a mainstream careers, the formal employment. Somebody who may not be academically inclined. So what happens for people like those? So for them, I think something like a degree apprenticeship would really work, or a work integrated learning program really works out, because it has 70% on the job exposure, 30% theory. So that kind of balances out their interest and wealth. And while they're gaining their proficiency, conceptual knowledge, and experiential learning, they also tend to earn a handsome stipend. So it's like a double whammy for youth, specifically for people who cannot afford education, or people who are not academically inclined. So I would suggest that every youth today should be open to the concept of apprenticeship. It's only going to enhance your employability factor. How does it make you more job ready, and and help you to get into the areas which is of your interest, and have a decent career.
Right, very, very crucial highlights there, of course, of the future of jobs and how this will help, of course, build a more skilled workforce for the nation. Thank you for sharing the highlights, really, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.